Hello, welcome to the Gold Nuggets podcast, where us four dynamic women unite to share transformative insights on mindset, manifestation, spirituality, and the invaluable gems of wisdom that can elevate your life. We are parents, entrepreneurs, and friends from diverse corners of North America, passionate about sharing the lessons we've learned and implemented in our own journeys. Each week, join Nicole, Jennine, Leslie, and myself as we dive into heartfelt conversations that inspire and uplift, blending personal development strategies with practical wisdom. Whether you're aiming for success, seeking personal growth, or simply looking to fine tune your mindset and energy, we've got the golden nuggets you need to turn your dreams into reality. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and prepare to soak up the insights that can spark your transformation. Together, let's forge a path to collective growth and expansion, because the journey to fulfillment is all about collecting those precious gold nuggets. Welcome to the show. Hello, ladies. How are you today?
Great.
Hello. Great, thanks.
Good.
How are
So
you?
good. I'm doing great. I'm here with you guys. Um, so I know we've talked a little bit on our previous episodes about attachment. So today we kind of want to dive into what that means, right? I know we can think of attachment as in physically, right? Maybe I'm attached to the chair I'm sitting in, right? My clothes are attached to me, but energetically, right? Attachment, kind of like what that looks like. Um, so that would actually be, well, the definition would be energetics, right? Because if I'm attached to maybe a relationship, I'm not physically attached, connected to that person, right? But energetically speaking, spiritually speaking, right? So my first question would be to you, ladies, what does attachment look like to you?
I think for me, neediness would be a form of attachment for me. The feeling of needing a certain outcome. Um, and I think even disappointment can be a form of attachment, in my opinion.
I like that. That's actually, I feel like an overlooked energy that we can be in, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Normal, right? But
mm-hmm. But if we're disappointed, then obviously we had an attachment to whatever it is we're disappointed about.
yeah, or maybe an expectation, which
Yeah, yeah,
coincides, I feel like a lot.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess upset, sadness that you didn't get it.
yeah.
Maybe you're hard on yourself if it was a goal or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love the whole aspect of the neediness. Like, oh, I
Hmm.
really need this to happen. I need to have this thing or to do this thing. That's all forms of attachment to me as well.
Yeah. It's definitely like a desperation, right? Like you have that energy of like white knuckling, like holding on to something like so hard,
Yeah.
right? Because you just have to have it happen, or you just have to get this thing that you want, or I used to feel like that a lot in my younger years, especially like I remember like even in dating, and it was like being attached to whether or not this dude likes me, right? Like and feeling like this like yeah, and I mean like Amber said, it's energetics. So those energetics, like when you're putting out that energy, that vibe of like desperation and like it's clinginess, right? And that's when the guys go,
And I'd even add to that even a feeling of rejection, could be some form of attachment
Yeah.
yeah,
because yeah.
yeah. Well, feeling like, not getting that relationship or that promotion or, reaching that goal means something about you. And I think, having that attachment to it is just, yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but you were on fire, Jennine.
Yes. Well, it just brings about, right? Like, so like what energy are we in, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about. So if we're in the rejection energy, right? Because if everything's an energy, and it is, right? Our feelings and everything, if we're in the energy of rejection, you know, of relationship or what have you. If we're in the energy of disappointment, then we're all in the energy of not having that thing, right? Or person or situation. So the opposite of attachment would be detachment, right? And so that would be, and I see it more of like just as like a flow, right? Of because the energy essentially that we want to be in is like the energy of already having the thing or the person, right? Whatever it may be. And so I think that's the energy that I want to stay in. So right, like you said, so if I'm wanting to attract my soulmate, for instance, I'm married, but like just for example purposes, right? If I'm looking for my soulmate and he's already here, and let's say I go have a date with whoever, right? And we were to break up, or he would say, you know, nice meeting you, right? So to be in the energy of awesome, that means you're not my soulmate, right? So you just kept me from, or that situation just allowed me to flow into finding my soulmate, right? Because if I'm upset about it, then now I'm in the energy of like my soulmate's not coming because he's obviously not it for whatever reason, right? So I feel like just flowing onto that, or you know, a job, for instance. So I didn't get that job. Awesome. That means my perfect job is waiting for me, right? Just that kind of whole thing. So detachment from it. So my question to you would be, how has being detached actually brought a manifestation to you? Like the act of, right, being in the flow and the having of said whatever. Do we have some good examples?
Well, I think that when we think about attachment and detachment, so we know we've talked about before that all our thoughts become our reality. And so if we're thinking about how desperately we need something, then that's what we're going to get. So if we detach and think about what it is, if we kind of detach from needing it so badly and just say, yes, I would like to have this, and then continue on with our lives, right? Then we've sort of detached from the outcome of not needing it. I'd love it, but if it doesn't happen, then I'm all good, right? That is detaching from that need to have it and telling the universe that, okay, sure, she'd love to have it, or he'd love to have it. And, but it's not an expectation to have, you know, I can still go on with my life, right? So it's kind of like, for me, I found that that's really a difficult thing because I really want this thing. But if I want it too badly, I'm attached and that's what I'm going to get, which means I'm not going to get it. But it's sort of, I have to be in that joyful expectation of getting it, but not be disappointed if it doesn't happen, or not be disappointed if it takes longer, because it'll eventually come if you're not attached to it. So I'll tell you my example. So this is going to be probably about 20 something years ago. I always wanted to upgrade my house to a bigger house. And just, I guess, circumstances in life just didn't seem to pan out for me. And I just sort of let go of the fact of having a bigger house. And then about probably 15 years or so after that, and I kind of completely forgot about it, having a bigger house, I got my bigger house. And I moved into it and I go, hold on a minute. I wanted to have this 20 years ago.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And just through the course of events, I ended up with my bigger house. So I did really detach from it because I really wasn't certain that I would get it, but it was something that I always wanted to have. and I just let it go, thinking, okay, I'm just gonna go on with life. I still have a house and whatever it might be, and I'm still happy. And voila, yeah, there again, there it shows up.
I
That's
love
amazing.
That
that.
brings to mind the saying, I love you, but I don't need you.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love that story, Leslie. And I can share a story about how detachment worked for me. I had a couple of years ago decided I wanted a pink beetle car, and I was like, oh, that would be so cool. I've always loved Volkswagen Beetles, and I was like, I really want a pink one. I want one with eyelashes on it. like, and I was like, I had it in my mind. So I started going on the hunt, and of course, like I was doing the visualization and all the things, right? Like starting to bring that manifestation into life. And I started to look at different options because where I live in Nova Scotia, Canada, pink beetles are not very common. And so I was like, well, perhaps I could find another beetle car in another color and, do the transformation myself kind of thing. So I had found a beetle car for a price that I was willing to pay. And it was like a light blue color. And I was like, oh, that would be great. Like I can change that easily and whatever. And anyways, I went through this whole process of trying to get this beetle car. The communication between me and the lady was not happening, and it eventually went to auction, and I missed it. So I was like, I was a little bit disappointed, and I was like, oh shoot, and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, no, wait a second. I'm like, it's this or something better. Right. So I just let it go. And I was like, my perfect beetle car is coming. I kid you not, within a couple weeks, I opened up Marketplace. And what was on the top left-hand corner was my perfect pink beetle car, including eyelashes.
Oh my gosh, you even got the eyelashes. Wow.
Eyelashes.
I love it.
So, it's just like, because I let go of that and let go of the disappointment, right? Like if I'd gone down that rabbit hole of like, oh, I didn't get it, oh dear, like I'm never going to find it, blah blah blah, it's not happening, and getting all upset, it's like, no, it wasn't my car,
Yeah.
because the perfect one was still waiting for me.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes things need to have a little bit of a gestational period before they come into your world, But it's a perfect example of how detachment worked really well for me.
Wow. I
Beautiful.
love that. And I love that I had the eyelashes. Like it wasn't just the pink one, because already that's already like a bit like there's
Yeah.
a ton of like pink cars out there. So not only was the color with the eyelashes, I think that's just perfect, right? That you like we can actually get what we asked for specifically, right? But you're right, like there's a gestation period, right?
Mm.
There are ways to speed it up, but I mean, it's not always going to be instantly, right? This isn't the show I Dream of Jeannie from the 50s where she's like, ding, right? Like it's, although instant manifestations have happened, but it's not, right? That's not the thing that typically happens. Um, but yeah, I love that. Jennine, do you have a specific story that you'd like to share?
Well, I mean, so there was a car that I wanted, and a friend of a friend, had been sending me pictures and things of that nature. And anyway, long story short, I had it in mind, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's my car. And then he told me that somebody else had offered him more money and that he was going to go with that deal and blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, I was disappointed, but I let it go because I said, well, he comes across cars all the time. And anyway, long story short, the deal with the first guy didn't go through. And, I had let it go, but, I really had high hopes about it at first, but I had let it go, but I kept that car in mind like the whole time I was looking, and same thing. It became my car.
I love it. Was it pink by chance?
No, it was
That,
blue.
that would be amazing. I love
Yeah, I mean,
it.
Nicole's story is pretty darn amazing, but it just goes to show that she kept that in mind, that
Yeah.
she let go of the attachment because she was willing to go with the other car, the blue car. She was willing to go with that, and but it didn't work out. So hers, the one she absolutely wanted, appeared. That is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually just thinking about, because I know it's a very kind of, I don't want to say tricky, but there is a fine line, right? Because a lot of people may be thinking, as did I when I first came upon this, how do you, uh, you know, be in the energy of without being attached, right? Especially if it's something like your dream home, your dream car, your soulmate, right? Something that is of importance, or of more importance to you than, the example of, buying something on Amazon and you click submit and it's coming, right? And you don't keep checking it. You're not attached to it because it's already on its way, right? And you're not really concerned, or even if they update you with like, oh man, it's gonna be delayed. Most people are like, oh, okay, cool, whatever, right? I'll see it a few days later. However, that's different than a dream home, a soulmate, right, etc. So what are some practices that we can do to kind of be unattached, right? Because I think there is maybe some confusion there, because you still want to um, create the energy of, I don't want to say wanting, but in the energy of that thing. Like, so for instance, if it's a soulmate, for instance, and interestingly enough, my mom used to tell me this like when I was a teenager, but she would go, I'm creating, like I'm emptying out a drawer, right? I'm setting aside a space next to my toothbrush, right? These types of things, meaning it's already there. Dude's already there, right? He's not, so the energy of, right? Like, oh, I'm sleeping on this side, right? Because if your soulmate's next to you, well, you're just going to bump into him, right? These kinds of things. So being in the energy of that without being attached. And, like you had talked about, going on a date and he doesn't call you back or whatever, and not being upset about it because it's already happening. So what are some practices that we can do, to help with, being unattached?
I think
Well,
Nicole's story is a perfect story about that because it was her willingness to not have the first car, her absolute dream car that she had in mind, but it was her willingness to go with something else, and that she did bring into fruition the one she wanted, she absolutely wanted. So I think, willingness in itself um, could play a big part in that.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. I know with me is I always just kind of keep pushing myself back and reminding myself it is gonna come when it's going to come. I know for sure. It's just like Nicole. She said, nope, I know for sure I'm going to get this. And that I feel like to me, when I'm very aware of, I'm thinking that, oh, it's not coming fast enough, because I still do get those feelings with certain things. I just have to remind myself, no, it's coming,
Mhm.
right? It's all good. It's going to come when it's going to come. Just keep working on it. Just keep doing this. So taking action, I think, towards whatever it is that you're doing, like even if it's like looking for a house, keep looking for your house, or keep looking
Mhm.
at houses if you're not ready to buy or whatever. Like you, it's going to come around eventually anyways. And that kind of reminds me of another one about a story of a house. When I was first looking to buy a house, I was looking on the internet. This was so many years ago too. And there was a house I really wanted. And I was like, oh, it's out of my price range. I can't have it, but I love this house. And then it was, I guess, a couple of months later that we actually went to buy a house. And that house was off the market and it hadn't sold though. And I was like, oh, darn. And so we're looking and we didn't find anything. And then all of a sudden, that house came back on the market for less money in our price range.
Wow.
And guess what we bought? That
Yay.
house,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
So you just, you just have to keep going, and that or something better, like Nicole said, that or something better is going to come up.
Yeah.
You miss the first one, the next one's going to be even better for you.
Yeah, so you made the most of the present moment of your current experience, and without the anxiety, and fear over what the future would bring. And then you ended up getting the house that you wanted.
Yeah.
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 Just because,
I mean, you
yeah,
just kind
it
of
was
let
meant to be.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that because you kept going, right?
Well,
And I think that
yeah.
there's something to be said about that, right? Like to not give up, to keep going, to maintain your faith, right? Like, I love how Amber brought up placing an order on Amazon, right? Like you place the order, it's coming. It's the same with manifestation. It's like knowing you put the order out, right? Like you said, okay, universe, I want XYZ. And you're like, nope, okay, out for delivery, right? Like, and just having that knowing that it is coming. And yes, it might be delayed. Yes, it might take a little bit of time, but knowing that it is on its way, I think is a huge practice to do, right? Like just to allow yourself to let go, because whenever you get those feelings of like desperation, clinginess, I need it, right? Like when you say I need something, you are affirming that you do not have it. So you need to get into that energy of I've already got it, it's on its way, it's coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
Just
And
like Amber said, just like, Amber's example of Amazon, I think that we need to trust the process and have belief, in a higher power, that even though it's not Amazon, even though it's not something that we put in our carts, we still trust the process and believe that it's coming,
yeah,
whatever it is we're asking for.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think,
reminded, Jennine, of like, because you said belief in a higher power. I saw this, it was like not really a meme, but it was like a picture. And it was Jesus bending down to this little girl. And he was like, give me your teddy bear. And she had this tiny little teddy bear. And she was reluctant to give this teddy bear to Jesus. But he had a great big teddy bear behind his back, right? So it's like, it's definitely a lesson in, you know what, let it go, because
Yeah.
it's this or something better, right?
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Because you're holding on to that thing. And that attachment that you have to it is what's actually keeping it away from you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that example, and that's it like gave me goosebumps. And I think when I said what kind of practices, I know this is all an inner thing because there's not really action to be detached, right? Typically, it's more of like an inside job, right? Of cultivating
Mhm.
that detachment. And it does, happen over time. Now I let things go all the time, but that's not where it was, right? And now I get to teach my kids, right, this kind of thing, and let them know like, hey, just because we want this today, right, it's not going to show up immediately, but it will if we keep in the faith, right? Like, and I love that you guys brought this up because essentially the practice behind it is just the faith and the knowing that it will happen.
Trust
You
the
know,
process.
and the universe likes to do things in mysterious ways, in ways that we can't even think of,
Imagine.
right? Like it's not going to always be a straight path and look the way that we want it to look. I mean, the law of rhythm, it goes like this. And so, we may be manifesting our soulmate and may have, 30 crappy dates, right? Like, who knows? But like, at the end of the day, this is another thing too. I asked myself is like, the thing that I'm wanting to manifest. Let's say it's happened, it's done. Am I going to look back and be upset that it took 2 years, 5 years, for Leslie 15, right? Like, am I going to look back and be like, oh man, I'm so upset that I had to go through all these dates? Am I so upset that I had to da da da, right? Like, you're not. So stay in that end result now, right? Of like, I already have it. So then when you go on the date and you're like, cool, didn't call me back. All right, this is awesome. I'm so excited. Thank you for not calling me back because it's, this or something better. Right.
Yeah.
And it's also to have fun with it. My husband is insanely amazing at getting excited at all of the contrasts and the things that appear to go wrong. Right. He's like, yes, let's go. Right. And he's dancing. I'm not quite there yet, but I love his energy. Right. But it's because he's living in the end of like, awesome, this fell apart, this didn't work, these things are going wrong because it's leading me to the ultimate thing that I want. So
Yeah. And that
Yeah.
just shows that he is trusting the process.
yeah,
That didn't work, but he has the faith. He knows that it's gonna happen. So yes, celebrate. Celebrate the losses.
yes, exactly, exactly.
Well, this is it. Like sometimes things have to fall apart, right?
Yeah.
In order for them to come back together the way that you want them, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're looking to manifest a new job, right? Like I've seen that happen so many times where people have been wanting to get out of their work and find something else that they're passionate about, and then all of a sudden they're laid off. And it's like, well, universe is responding. God, universe, source, however, your God of the God of your understanding, right? They've got a plan for you. And if you're wanting to get out of your job, well, they're saying, here you go, right? Laid off. And some people will look at that and be like, oh my God, I lost my job. Oh my God. And then like they're all upset rather than seeing it as an opportunity for them to actually move towards the job that they really, really want. So,
I was gonna say and it goes perfectly with what you're talking about, Nicole. It's all action too. So you
Mhm.
have to hold the faith, right? You have to continue moving forward as well, right? You can't just, hold this faith on something that you're doing nothing about. So if you're wanting to find your soulmate and you're not dating, you can't just hold the faith, I'm gonna find my soulmate, because you're not doing anything about it, right?
not just find them sitting on
So
your couch at home.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like when losing your job because you said you didn't like your job and you wanted another one, you lost your job. That's the action. So everything is has to be led with an action.
Yes, very true.
We
Very
can't
true.
just sit, right? So yes, we want to detach from it. We don't want to be attached to it, but we also have to continue to move forward in whatever it is that we're doing.
Yeah, in the direction of
And
what.
you might not even be working towards that particular thing, but if you put it out there that I would love this, you'll probably take steps that are almost unknown to you towards that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're looking for the signs.
Yeah. And this is kind of off of the relationship thing. But I even think about like material attachments and things because I think about the wildfires that happened in California and all those homes, and not just the wildfires. I mean, there's, the earthquakes and tornadoes and people that just absolutely lose everything. And, you can you can not have the devastation doesn't have to be as heavy when you're detached from your belongings. And
Mhm.
so the more you practice, not having that mental attachment to things, the better off you'll be, period, about anything. Um, and then that is even like, even in relationships, um, you know, you have to be, you have to let go of control in relationships, because that's attachment. So, you can't control somebody else. But if you just let go of control in relationships of whatever it is you want the other, person to do or not do, whatever, and you just keep in mind what you really want, you'll probably see them changing without you having to be the one to control that and telling them, to do this or not do that or whatever.
Yeah, I love that. One of my most
Mhm.
favorite quotes by one of my most favorite people, that's no longer on this earth, but Wayne Dyer, who used to always say, be open to everything and attached to nothing. And so
Mhm.
I just love this so much. And I mean, that's the way he lived his life, right? Like, even, he's like, you can, walk up to somebody on the street corner and they can say the most like insane thing. Being open to everything and attached to nothing is like, oh, okay, that's an interesting point of view. I hadn't thought of that. Thank you. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to go home and you're going to change your beliefs based on what they just said, but that is opening, right? Because at first I was like, what do you mean? Like, if somebody says something crazy, right? Like, but it's being open to it in the sense of you literally just think about it. That's interesting, right? Again, that doesn't mean I'm going to go home and I'm going to change my views or my beliefs based on what you said, but I'm still open to it. And I'm not attached to anything.
Mhm.
Meaning I'm not attached to, right, like Jennine said, because technically we don't own anything, right? We don't even own our bodies. We don't own the money we have, the house we live in, right? Like it's all borrowed. Because what happens when we pass away? This house goes what? To somebody else. Our body goes to the earth, right? Whatever, right? So
Mhm.
the more that we're grasping, right? Like think about people that like hoard things or like money or whatever, they typically don't have a lot or they live in like just absolute fear, right? And so
Mhm.
it just, I mean, it's all an energy, right? So if you're just free flowing, right? And I just loved the example of Wayne Dyer and the way that he lived because it was just so beautiful, you know and I really love that.
Yeah, being detached the way he lived, and open to, to everything, and being attached to nothing. I just think that it allows for more thought-provoking
yeah.
things, somebody, like you said, if somebody says something and then you're like, and it allows for more thought-provoking
Kind of like
ideas, or
clearing the space to
yeah.
allow for something new to come in.
Allows
Yeah,
Yeah,
flow,
yeah.
flow
absolutely.
and expansion, right? Like when you let go of something, it allows that space to, to bring in something. Like you let go of something negative, it allows for you to replace with something positive, right?
Yeah.
The more you let go, the more you expand, right? Like your capacity expands. So
Mm,
when you think about it that way, yeah.
Yeah.
Mansion. I love it. This has been amazing. Does anybody else have anything else that they want to share? I mean, I know I could talk about attachment, detachment for hours, but
Yeah. There's something that came up. I just wanted to mention, because we talked about relationships and stuff like that. My mom used to always say, you know, you will, when you stop looking, you will find it, right?
yeah.
Mm.
And
So
I think that's a,
yes, you
mhm.
want to put your ask out there, but if you're constantly like, hello, are you under there? Hello, where are you?
Yeah.
She
I
said
mean,
that to me.
yeah,
And
I
she was
grew up with
right.
that. She
Such a
what?
good point. Like it's just like losing your keys.
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
You can't find your keys. I'm looking. As soon as you're like, okay, forget it. You know what? I'm just gonna walk or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they show up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Always does. And
Yeah.
every time
Or
I stop,
planting a garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or planting a garden. You're not going to go out there and dig up the seeds that you just planted yesterday and say, "Are you growing yet?"
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't have a green thumb, so I do go check every day, but I don't pull them up by the root. Like, but I do check every day. But I agree.
Yeah. Well, it's nothing wrong with looking.
Yeah, but I agree in the moments where I have forgotten, and again, I don't have a green thumb, but in the times when I've been like, whatever, they'll grow if they grow, and that, you know what I mean, that I've let it go,
Yeah.
the keys, that's when it started growing. But when I check it every single day, I'm like, man, nothing is happening. There's not a single seed that is growing, right? But
Yeah,
I,
but you're in that joyful expectation because you know you planted the seed, you know you put in the order, you know it's coming, eventually.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the whole part of the gestation period, and not being disappointed in,
Yeah.
even if it takes a year, 2 year, right, whatever, right? And again, we can talk on another episode about, speeding things up, but like knowing regardless, right? It's like kids growing, right? They're not like, man, I'm gonna be, a foot high forever, right? Like we just know. And then over time, and we actually measure our kids every like few months or whatever, but it's like over the year, I'm like, oh my God, right? Like it's been so many inches. But when you think day to day, they're like, man, I'm not growing at all.
Right. Right.
Just those little,
Yeah.
little things.
Perfect example.
Yeah. This has been amazing, ladies, and I love this topic so much. Thank you all, and thank you everyone for tuning into the Million Gold Nuggets podcast. If you got value out of this episode or think somebody would benefit from it, please hit the share button and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the little bell icon so you don't miss an episode. Until we meet again, remember the journey to fulfillment is all about collecting those precious gold nuggets. Bye for now.